Hello, piano teacher. This video is all about teaching tips, ideas to improve your teaching, things to think about how you teach, because that's really the most important of what you're doing and how to make your teaching the most effective so the student can play easier and play more beautifully. So, this video is all about teaching tips. So, let's jump in. Overall, to think about a piano lesson being effective, you want to think what has changed for the child during the lesson. In other words, when they first started the lesson to when the time of the lesson has ended, did they improve? Did something get better? Did their playing change because of your instruction? Did they, play smoother? Did they fix a rhythm? Did you help them correct some notes? Did they play with better dynamics? So has what they've played, has it changed? And that's really what you want to try to impact in the lesson is that change. So ways that you can help them to do that. Okay. Here's a couple of more tips. Um, I recommend that when a student is playing something, if you're getting started and it's something, right, first from their assignment, let them play their piece in its entirety. And then you can stop and break it apart and do some focused work. But as they're playing, if you hear mistakes and things to correct, I would not stop them right away. Let them play the whole piece first. And then at the end, you can get to the small parts and work and correct things. The next is sound, feel, sight, and then the name. So, this is a big teaching principle about how we approach teaching something new. If it's a new concept or a new skill, a physical skill that's new for the child, the way that you want to approach it is by the sound first. You want them to hear it first. So that means for you to model it. All right. An example of this could be articulation, staccatos. If they're first being introduced to staccato, maybe they've only played either with no markings at all, or maybe they've played somewhat smoothly on the piano keys or simply detached. But now, if you really want to work on playing short notes, you can demonstrate for that for them first. You can have them listen to you play a couple of examples, see if they can hear the difference. So you could say, listen to this and listen to this. Can you tell me the difference? What do you hear in the difference? What do you hear the first example sound like and the second one? You could certainly play longer repertoire pieces, more full examples or phrases. But you start with that sound first, get them to talk about that, and as they listen to you or to a YouTube video, but hearing is first. Then they can feel it, so they experience it in their hand. Okay, so have the student on the piano feel it and experience it. Again, this can be the example that I'm giving you is staccatos, but it could be a rhythm if it's eighth notes, right? If it's a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note, that's always tricky. If it's a dynamic change, if it's a crescendo, if it's a decrescendo, they feel it. So they listen to it. The sound is first, then they feel it. Okay. Then we go to the sight of it. So, what does it look like in the music? Well, a staccato dot in the music is a small dot above or below the note head. All right. Or this is what a crescendo symbol looks like. And then the last is the name, right? If it's a crescendo. Will you say that after me? Crescendo. Have the students say that word crescendo. Let's say that word together. Staccato. Staccato. And the student can say that after you. So that's a great teaching order to introducing something new, a new concept or a new skill. A skill would be something like maybe Alberti bass or a scale, a full octave scale, and how they have to cross their fingers. So that would be like a skill. All right, the next principle, do one thing at a time. One thing at a time. After the student has played their piece, and if you need to work on correcting some things, pick one thing at a time to work on. Usually can start with rhythm and work on rhythm first. If you hear any rhythmic errors, you can do that. But again, focus on one area at a time. Work on that. Then you can go to the next area, then the next area. If it's a note, if it's a fingering, pick and do one thing only at a time. And that's being very goal directed. If it's a specific measure, an area in general, but that helps you and the student to learn to be very goal directed, doing one thing only, teaching only one thing at a time. Think about if it's a new piece, how can you help the student prevent errors, prevent mistakes? So if you're introducing a new piece, and maybe you play it for the student, maybe they point to the notes while you play, maybe they tap a steady beat while you play. But when you're first introducing a brand new piece, what I try to think about is maybe what would be the trickiest spot? What do I think would be the hardest part for a student or the trickiest part? You could even look at that together. You could even ask the student, what do you think is the hardest part of this piece as you listen or as you look on the page? So you could help them do that first in a piece, and then you can work on the whole thing. This actually brings me to my next point that students should do in the lesson. And what that means is that they have to play in the lesson. You can't just tell a student, well, I need you to fix this rhythm and I need you to fix this note and fix this fingering. When you say those things to the student, they should immediately demonstrate it and do it right there with you. If they don't, they will forget. It's in one ear and out the other. Okay, so if they've played a piece and then you're deciding what to work on and you're only working on one thing at a time and you want to work on making that improvement and making that change, have the student give that direction, give the spot or the measure number, and then have the student do it in the lesson. And it's even better if you can get them to do it a couple of times in a row. You're showing them how they can do this at home as well. You're setting them up to how to practice effectively at home. All right, that can be quick, but you want them to do it and to play it and to demonstrate it in the lesson. And again, if that means correcting a rhythm, correcting a note, correcting a finger number, adding a dynamic, they have to do it with you in the lesson. So you want to be sure to go through any new assignment with them in the lesson, at least getting started, at least going through a challenge part or a difficult spot of a new piece. You've got to do that with them together before they leave. Be sure to give lots of positive encouragement. If it's not, if it's something that you don't want them to do, or if it's wrong, you can certainly tell them that's not quite right. Let's try it again. Or, we're getting there, but we need to keep working. But when they do something right, boy, you want to be excited. Be sure to give positive encouragement and tell them when they've done something right. Tell them when they've done a really good job and you know that they've focused and they've tried their best. The last thing, the ultimate goal in lessons is really to play music beautifully, right? That's really our ultimate goal, is to play the piano in a beautiful way, in a beautiful manner. So their music, you want them to feel empowered, you want them to feel excited about their music and to experience playing beautifully. So that means your duet playing, when you play duets with them, it has to be just as beautiful as you can play as well. You're modeling for them. So how you start a piece, how you end a piece, how you listen as you play, that's really your ultimate goal. And then certainly telling them that you played beautifully today. Listen for that beautiful playing at home this week as well. So those are a few of my top teaching principles to hopefully make your lessons very effective.